एक बंगला बने प्यारा रहे कुनवा जिसमें सारा. This popular old Hindi classic resonates the same sentiments as we say in Dutch, een eigen huis, een plek onder de zon, en altijd iemand in de buurt die van me houden kon. The house shelters our daydreaming. House protects the dreamer, and house allows us to dream in peace. House is not just four walls with one roof. It's a place for our identity, for our relationship, and for the meaning in life. House is where life begins again every morning. But today, in the Netherlands, this grounding is fragile. Students move from lease to lease, families postponing their futures, and young professionals eliminate house ownership from their dreams. The good news is that in the Netherlands, we have done many big things before: land, water, transport. And this time, it is for the housing crisis. Damas and Heren, this is Sanjay Sharma, your host, and you have just started watching your favorite program, Expaterience. Today's edition consists of 3 segments. First, we'll talk about housing crisis. Then we have a social media report by Martin Simon-Ruth, in which he will explore the extent of this problem. And finally, the third one about Dutch winter by Newton. Before we start, let me introduce you this wonderful panel that we have with us today. We have Bart Reeser. He's a chairman. Good morning. Chairman NVM Haaglanden.
That's right.
And joining us is also Simon Dulcis from Italy. He's a content creator. He's active on social media. And our next guest is Larissa Melincianu.
Good morning.
Good morning. She's Deputy Director, Policy and Communication, Barca Foundation. And finally, we have Marco Sark. He's a co-founder, co-owner of Fast Food Real Estate Agents. Thank you very much, all of you, for sparing time this lovely morning. Housing crisis, so much is being talked about on different platforms. Today, we would like to take a different take on it. First of all, is it really a problem, or it has existed? I would like to start with you, Simone.
Yeah, of course.
What is this the crisis for you?
Well, I mean, as an expert, I would say it's like the first thing you think about when you come here. And I guess my experience is very funny because since I arrived, it was very complicated to find one. And basically, in 4 months, I've been living in 30 different houses. So it's kind of a problem finding a house and also finding a new one every 2 or 3 months. So yeah, I would say kind of a crisis thing.
So it's a real crisis.
Yeah, it is.
Larissa, how do you see it?
We have contact with a lot of European international workers because this is what through our foundation we are doing. We are supporting the most vulnerable mobile workers, and we see that the housing crisis affects in very specific ways the group of people we are trying to support. First of all, they arrive here, many of them, they arrive here with a work contract, that it's already linked to the housing. And this creates some kind of a dependency relationship to the job agency throughout they are coming here, accessing the flexible labor market. And this has a great impact. The upward job mobility, it's much difficult to achieve. They postpone indeed or they have purely no possibility to bring their families over. This creates an extra psychological stress for both adults but also the children that are left behind in the care of the grandparents.
So it's a big problem.
It is bigger than we can immediately think of.
Right. Marco, how do you see it?
Well, we sell houses, we help people buy houses, but we don't have enough houses. And we have a lot of people who are searching. We're getting to know people better and better because we see them for 2-3 years walking around and searching. So when we open a door for viewing, we almost see our new friends because they continue in searching and continue in making offers, but they don't stand a chance.
That's right. Is it also your experience or something different, Bart?
Well, and first of all, your introduction shows how pressing this problem really is, and you do see, a pressing issue, especially for starters and in the, as we call it, lower end of the market, where it is really pressing to find a house to buy or to rent, rent even more difficult than to buy, and it's a real big issue at the moment. Yes.
If I understand correctly, people tend to think there's like less houses, so it's about a construction sector. But when I look at it, to me it seems like it's about it. We have those who don't have a proper place to stay. They have lack of sanitation. They are exposed to all these elements outside. Which is, again, leads to overcrowding at places. And overcrowding means some kind of like a spread of infectious diseases, people suffering from mental trauma. And this can also lead to risk of violence, especially the gender-based. So to me, it's more than the sector. The question that I would like to start with is that, do we or should we treat the housing as a fundamental right or a humanitarian right? What do you think?
Yeah, it's one of your 3 basic needs. You need to eat, you need to drink, the other way around, and then you need a roof above your head. So it's fundamental, and I agree.
You think so? What about you, Simone?
Well, I kind of think the same. So probably also in a country which the level of everything is very high. I think it's a very advanced country. It's interesting to realize there's an issue in this type of really basic needs.
If that is true, if this is how we should treat it as a human right or a fundamental right, the question comes: why do we allow people to profit from scarcity? What do you think, Larissa?
Yeah, it is difficult to say. The job agencies with whom we try to dialogue with in order to think together how to offer more housing security to the people that are coming with big dreams over here. They say that they just don't have enough houses. Probably other guests know better the situation than I do. But the fact is that this scarcity also leads to people not being able to register with the municipality. So this affects access to healthcare and the other issues you just listed. And also access to basic social care regular system in the Netherlands.
Yeah. Marco, what do you think? Why do we treat it as an economic sector, and why? What about this profit making?
We should have built many years ago a lot of houses. Evidently we didn't. And now we have a shortage of over 400,000 houses, and we have to overcome that issue. And we have a lot of restrictions we can't overcome, and that's where the market is being stopped by political reasons and economical reasons, and the shortage is there. Yesterday I had a nice Polish couple on a viewing, and they were living in a house with 14 people together, and then you feel that there is a really big need, that we need those houses.
Bart, your opinion on that, the profit making from something which is for the sake of as a public good?
That is very difficult to say, because if you want to take it to that discussion, you need to change the system completely, and I think that's not realistic for the approach. I think that in history choices have been made that lead up to a shortage of houses, but at the same time, we see in the Netherlands that households are getting smaller and smaller, more one-person households, and they all need an own home, which might not have been anticipated for in the past. So you're also getting behind on everything, building houses and everything. It was funny that last year I had a course from somebody who said, well, we built 75,000 houses, but we needed over 100,000 houses due to households. So we built a lot of houses, but we couldn't get to that point that it really helped. In terms of the profit making, with the choices that we made, we need to see that how can we work with the fact that we need more houses, and who are going to build them? How are we going to create them?
Yeah, actually, for this specific episode, I talked to too many people, because everybody has their opinion. So I collected some of the questions from there, and which I'll try to incorporate in our discussion today. One example came of Austria, probably. They have a social housing system there, and the number of houses available are so much, in that even those who are better off, they can have, the social housing. So in that context, especially during the crisis time, somebody asked a very interesting question. Should it be ethical, moral, legal to own more than one house? Because for a country like the Netherlands, which is limited geographically, and some parts like being below sea level, and some part allocated for the agriculture and so on, we don't have that much space, room. So is it a valid question? Who would like to take?
Valid questions, but that's in the past was a different kind of way of working. If you had a small shop and you were an entrepreneur, you didn't get a pension, and the government just showed you go into buying houses and renting them. Then you save up for your old age, and now all of a sudden that completely changed. So we're in the middle of a big change, and we have to deal with that. Of course, we know that second houses cannot help everyone, but on the other hand, we don't have a lot of rent. And now we have all newcomers who want to rent, but we're also short on that. So it's a discussion on is this right or wrong, but that's more the ethical side.
Exactly.
We need to help a lot of people. So in general, we are short on rentals, but also in the buying market, we're over 400,000 houses short. So it's a huge problem.
Could that be also understood in terms of like the income or wealth inequality in the society? For example, if there are people who are better off, well off, and they have more than one or two houses, and they don't have any need to sell it, right? Because they can afford to keep them. And unless these the places or houses become vacant in the market, others cannot have them. So is there any direct correlation between the income or wealth inequality and the possession of houses? What do you think?
That's a difficult question to answer. I'm not sure if you're allowed to put it that well straight forward. I do think that yes, if you have a higher income and more flexibility on how to spend it. Of course, you create possibilities to differently spend it. But as Marco was explaining, the baker, the butcher in the street, he didn't get a pension that wasn't arranged by the government, and they need to arrange it themselves. And for instance, for them who are very in society, involved and realistic, and they decided they wanted to have apartments to rent out as decent homeowners for realistic, decent rent. They provided in a need and created their own pension as well. So it's easy to look at the few that are the excesses in your question, but I think that the majority of house owners who rented them out was acting very fair in their rent, in their maintenance, in accommodating something that we really needed, which the government wasn't able or willing to provide.
Absolutely. Larissa, would you have any comment on it?
Yeah, now hearing Mr. Bart, actually when the rent is affordable, everyone should be able to win out of it. I think another aspect that wasn't necessarily anticipated was that the mobile workers often remain longer than a seasonal period of time. And this also increases the need for own renting. It seems like mobile workers become dependent on the earnings that they now do throughout in the entire year of the year, not only a few months, a year, and then they go back and then maybe they return.
Okay.
So as long as the rents could be affordable,
rent is affordable,
everyone could win out of it.
Simon, is it the main concern for you too? Is it a rent or a kind of like availability of affordable places?
I think it's both of the two things. So, but probably the availability is the big problem. I think availability is the big problem because it causes shortage, and shortage creates opportunity for getting more profit out of it. So it's a problem, of course. But in the end, I think the only way is actually to try to understand that probably you make two forces working in the same market. So if you think of it, you create a situation in which you, for instance, I think about my situation. So expats are very useful for the country. So there was a need of them, and Eindhoven, for instance, is an example of that. So you make room for people to come, and at the same time, of course, you make a problem in the availability, right? So if you do one thing, I think you should care also the other part.
Okay. That brings me to the structural problem. In this case, we can also equate it with policy disaster. Sometimes what happens is just one or two policies can result in something like unwanted consequences. Think about whether it's a market imbalance or it's just a kind of like a misjudgment. If you think about the speculation in the market, housing market, or financialization of the sector, you take it as an investment, as an asset, treating something. Another issue could be austerity plans. So when we get rid of all the unwanted stuff, which reminds me to this reduction in the housing, public housing, or even the ministry altogether. It has been the case here that they abolished the Ministry of Housing. Is that correct?
How do you mean?
The whole department of the housing, the ministry completely. Are we aware of it?
No.
No?
I wouldn't think so.
Okay.
No.
I'm told that there was in the first cabinet of Mr. Rutte, they abolished it completely, the housing ministry.
They might have cut it up into different ministries, that it wasn't the separate, and later on we had Stef Blok at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah, but completely
Completely
diminishing.
not? You're not aware?
I
Maybe-
don't. No, I don't dare to say whether they chose
Okay.
that specifically with that also that foreseen that it wasn't a complete priority. It's not a priority at some point. No, I don't dare to.
It could be a misinformation that I'm, or maybe I heard it, misheard. Larissa, are you aware of this, or that Ministry of
I don't have
Housing?
enough.
You don't.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway,
technical,
then I
knowledge.
think we come to the next question. It's like if we rewind 10 years back. So consider that. What do you think is that one single decision, whether it's from the bank or the policymakers or from the builder side, that could have prevented the current magnitude of the problems? Can you think of something?
I think you should go back 15 years.
Okay.
2009, 2010 was the start of the crisis, and a lot of development projects were stopped altogether. And somewhere 2017, when we were back in the lift again, we started building. So in the years we didn't build, and before we used to build around 17,000 houses a year, and that stopped. So we were walking backwards, and from that moment on, we had to run along. But then a lot of contractors had stopped, so we didn't have the people to build. There were not enough materials, so it was all slow. And then also you have to go through all the legal matters, the permits and those kind of things. That stopped the whole housing market. And now we have to solve that
Compensate
solution.
for that one, yeah. What do you think?
Well, I think for a part of the social housing, one of the decisions that wasn't that smart was the tax that the social housing companies needed to pay over their rental incomes, which made it difficult for them to invest in new housing, for instance. But it's very difficult to point out one or two. It's such a complex and such many things that come together. Let's not call it a perfect storm, but it is a difficult problem with a lot of elements that come in, and to say, well, this we should have done differently, and then we wouldn't have been in this situation. I find that difficult. Except for all the elements Marco said, that they're all part in the issue.
Yeah, no, true. It's a very complex situation. That's why, for the sake of our viewers, we are trying to understand, because you have been in the business for very long, very experienced. Let's take one more, critique that people say during the years of the cheap money, the credit. Mortgage industries inflated the prices. Is it a fair critique? Or it's just...
Well, it's one of the things that happened.
But
when there's shortage, during school I had this one little thing, the economy teacher told me, if there's a shortage, prices go up. And we've been in that market for many, many years now. So the low interest didn't help. But, a lot of people bought houses and are now really happy with a low interest. And other people aren't paying now a lot more. But we're still in the market where we have shortage and prices are still rising. We have to build a lot of houses to get the shortage out, and then still we have a lot of issues.
But you do see the contribution of the cheap interest-free money into the price of inflation? Do you also agree to that?
Well, one of the issues with the low interest was, on the other hand, not only that the mortgages profited more, but the low interest also created the effect that people who had the savings, which wanted to make a profit, decide then we're going to invest in property to rent it out. And we have seen areas in the region, in The Hague, where that happened very frequently, where apartments were bought by investors who made it difficult in the buying market for everybody, also expats, to be able to buy, because there was a difficult competition in the market. But yet again, that also provided in a rental market, which was where there was market as well, and where it is good that you take out the excesses that you don't want in that market. You then now see that with the change situation, that's sold again, so that's fixed more or less, but creating the problem which is especially affecting expats, I think, who are newly coming here. Yeah. They want to start to rent, period. You don't want to come here in need to buy a house right away. You want to know, where do I want to live, what is important for me, and everything. So you now see that in that way, the rental market is very, very difficult for people to be able to participate in.
Exactly.
So the interest, it goes two ways.
Two ways, yeah, precisely. So, I mean, as you very rightly mentioned about the impact of this crux, this crisis has the impact on the ability to grow, the economic growth, and innovate and sustain the progress. What do you think, Simone? What is the magnitude of this impact on the newcomers, or those who are interested?
Well, I think again, there's a lot of value in people coming here, as long as they have, of course, the ability and the professional skills that are necessary for the country. Because the problem is probably related to the fact that the Netherlands is not a big country. And if you're not a big country, also your population is not as big. So nowadays, I would say, if you think of it, there are a lot of sectors which are in need of many professionals, right? And of course, I guess, and that's probably the reason why the Netherlands is looking for talents from abroad. You need a lot of people from abroad because you cannot create them in the universities here. So you cannot solve it now, because now you blame the capitalism, but the capitalism is something which relation, so I want to prevent first. So again, 15 years ago, that would be easier.
Yeah, but as you said, like, we cannot produce them here. I think we can produce them, but it takes longer time, right?
Of course you can solve next, but it takes more time, and also it takes problems to people coming now, because you can imagine people now are living, for instance, I live in a 7 square meters like room, which is fine, because of course I don't care, because I came here and I knew there were problems. But still, I mean, it's a very advanced country, so you'd expect a different situation.
True. Larissa, what do you think about it?
Yes, the people that are coming here and they are being paid low wages, they pay a high price for a temporary bed in an overcrowded rooms. But also this housing crisis created that dynamic that a job agency will offer a very tempting package with a job, accommodation, and then also not only expats but also common workers that are coming here with unrealistic expectations. They risk to become homeless here, because they don't know a priori how difficult it is to take distance from your package deal that was been offered by the job agency.
But at this moment, I mean, since this problem is well, documented and informed, and being in the media, do you think people still are coming, knowing that actually there is a crisis in the sector?
They're still coming, definitely. When you are also struggling in your home country,
right?
You think that this could be a chance, this package deal that is quite accessible. No, conditions are requested. Then having an ID in order to come and work in the Netherlands, and this, sounds a good deal for someone that already struggles with accessing our internal labor market, or they face some isolation after divorce or some other challenges in their own country. Then they dare to take some risks.
That's interesting, because recently I was going through a research by ING, and they reported not just foreigners, but 52% of Dutch experience this stress because of the housing crunch. So, which is a significantly high number, 52%. So, if this housing insecurity can be considered as a not individual, like one side, whether it's the government or the politics or the construction industry, but it's a collective, a failure. In that context, what does it talk about the social contract theory? In which people rely that this should be the basic thing, that they should get it because they are working for all through their lives. How do we maintain that contract among people without causing a problem to the fabric of the society? What do you think, Mark?
So that's a good question. Well, we try to support people in every way we can. A lot of people are living in a hotel just to survive because we don't have houses. I hear that universities are asking foreign students not to come.
Not to come, yeah.
Because we don't have housing. And of course, we need a lot of people here. But on the other hand, we have to ask them not to come because we don't have the housing.
Yeah. It's a great pity indeed.
So we need you, but you have to sleep on the street. So we have a good package of people to come. Can we solve it? We're trying to, but I don't see the solution on the short term. In the 1900s we lived on 10 square meters per person, and at the moment the average is 65 square meters. We have nothing left anymore for anyone, so we have to solve that issue, and we have to start building not only big houses but also a lot of apartments. And we have also the holiday housing. We can only live there for a short term.
True, yeah.
So we have to work on that too. They are empty during the whole winter.
But that's a very good point, actually. That reminds me of this. The inequalities. Could we say that there's some sort of inequalities created by the policy choices? I'm coming back again to that. My observation is that there are, there are some houses which are really big, 2-3 bedroom apartments, and only one person is living there because they cannot move, because they cannot, in that price, they cannot find a single room or double room. And so it's not in their favor. Another example, which I may be a little bit wrong, but I just like to tell, I love these places, small places like Hofje,
Yep.
And as per the regulations, only one person can occupy, 2 cannot live there, right? Because the size is very small.
No,
is that true?
There are exceptions, but then that's based on very traditional regulations, why they were built. There's a historic element,
true,
if that is the case.
Yeah.
But to say that there is the solution for the crisis, I find that a bit steep. And there are many hofjes, and I have to say they're really nice to live in. But there are many hofjes where you can live with more than one, where even families live in. But as Marco said, we decided to live on more square meters altogether. I like your approach. You do get back to that we need to change the system altogether. But I think that the problems, and I do think that they're also inside that the problems are really big. But we need to make choices.
Yes, exactly.
If I can add anything to that, I think. The reason why a solution has not been found so far is because the Netherlands has a really good personal branding. So in terms of foreigners coming here, there's a good culture about that, which helps a lot, of course. But at some point, I feel like when other countries will be as good as the Netherlands is, with more space, there will be a big competitive advantage. And so at that point, I think, because the Netherlands, I'm sure, needs these talents and needs also other people coming from other countries, it's probably the moment in which they're going to make a change in the policies. They will think broadly, because otherwise we're going to have a problem. problem for all of us.
It's a very interesting point that what policies do you think needs to be tweaked? What kind of things?
That's very complicated, of course. But let's say I'm a creative person, so I may say you got to work on regulations, I think. Because if you think of the capitalism, you just cannot say to somebody, and I'm not going to say that because it's unfair, honestly. You can't live in as much square meters as you want, but you can try to make them choose, like to rent the second house, for instance, with incentives. Because you think broadly and you say, okay, fine, so I want to have more people coming from abroad because it's necessary, and I'm going to profit from that. If I don't do that, it's going to be expensive. So you could try to give an input, an incentive.
Yeah.
Not feasible?
No, but exactly the opposite has been done.
Fair enough.
To say.
Fair enough.
But I do think that you can create positive motivation to try and to have people choose differently. Yes, but you need time. You need time and time for that, and we don't have a quick fix. But yeah, it is on the agenda for sure.
Yeah, obviously it's a very complex, as Marco has already mentioned a couple of times.
We're not going to solve it today.
Yeah, we can't solve it today, and certainly not in the short term.
Exactly,
it will require some more time. If you see, different stakeholders, sellers, buyers, builders, government, or whoever, or people, consumers, they're blaming each other that it's caused by them. Can we set this accountability to one or the other? Is it possible that the leading stakeholder is this? For who can take the lead in solving this problem?
Then it's coming back to politics.
Is it all politics?
Well, if they create an environment where it's an easy way to get a permit and to get things going, to get from an idea to a building, it takes years. We have to shorten that. That starts with politics. But then again, we have not enough people who can create houses. We have not enough materials, so they have to walk hand in hand. But the lead should be at the politics side, and it should be a group of people who can control the whole process.
But what you suggest is could there be consensus among people that this is actually the way to go? Because if that is the case, then government would listen to them, right?
Well, the government listens, but they have other choices to make.
I do think, or I do know, that there are discussions within the parties who need to build the houses at the end of the day, together with the government. Okay, how are we going to create the 400,000 houses that we need? How are we going to speed up? How are we going to be able to make that possible? At the same time, in the Netherlands, we are a very small country with a very lot of people living in it. Where are we going to build them? Where do people want to live? Because we can build somewhere. We're Dutch, so we can create an island and build the houses on it. But do people want to live in it? Do they want to live in that location? So you have those big issues to be able to solve that. And so that also takes time, and at the same time, where the government is willing to say, okay, we want to solve every problem that there is, they need to make choices, and they are limited by elements that makes it difficult living with so many in this country. We have issues with the environment, which we need to respect to have a nice area to live in, but it limits the possibilities. There are discussions on speeding up, and I do think that the ministry and at some point there's taken responsibility, but there are choices to be made. And if you choose for housing, you need to let things on other parts go, of which it really is the question whether society will accept that you make that choice on that element.
But are there common voices that you hear from the society side that, our preference is this, or the first priority is this? As you said in the beginning that, like the food and, life, shelter is very important. So
True.
You can't really put it on the back burner. So do you hear that from the society that the preference comes on the first, second for housing? That they are willing to make hard choices?
I think that there are a lot of people who are in need of a house, are willing to make matter. And I do think that a lot of people have issues with housing. At the last elections, it really was a main issue to talk about. But still, there are limitations. Also limitations that without the full picture that we don't know about, that makes it more difficult.
But an interesting thing that Marco mentioned about the government thing. So I'm just trying to think, suppose.
Okay, let's go there.
Ideal world.
Ideal world. Because, we don't have enough information. So suppose tomorrow government guarantees a stable and predicted 10-year permit for the construction. How many homes do you think realistically can be delivered?
Can be built.
Can be built, yeah.
Of course.
Government says, okay, go ahead.
Well, Bart.
No, don't ask me for the figures. I don't know. So it will be very difficult to find sufficient enough people to build them.
You need more experts.
Yeah, we need
need
more
that,
experts
more
to be able to
Well,
build
you need
them.
that and materials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Materials, of course.
We don't have enough to build all the 400,000 houses in a short term.
So now with this answer, we come to the conclusion that it's not just the government's yes or no, but there are practical problems.
There are practical problems as well. So that's why we all need to work together. We're not going to solve it just by telling the political part they need to change things, because afterwards there's a whole chain. They have to work together as a solid group, or else we'll not solve anything.
So would it be kind of like good to conclude that the ultimate problem does not lie with the government? It's on the environment, other logistic issues. Is that a good conclusion?
Yeah, I think so.
Bart, for you too?
I find that a very it's a very difficult conclusion to take. Getting back to the Dutch approach, we can do anything, but so that makes it difficult for me to say that is true. But it is a combination of There's no quick fix. So it is a combination of all those elements. And yes, the lack of people, materials, doesn't say that even if we say tomorrow you can build there, and we can build everything that we need, that we have that done in 5 years. Impossible.
So it's impossible in 5 years?
To have the 400,000 in 5 years, we can't.
Okay.
We can't. Well, yeah, if we get a lot more people coming in, but it's not realistic to be able to do it.
I think there should be the responsibility also on our side, because we are part of the problem, right? We are part of an issue. We are also a part of the cause, but not in the sense that we are a problem. We are just going to be responsible for that. And the thing is, if you want to come to the Netherlands now, you got to understand it's going to be more complicated. And I think we should think as I thought. I came here in August, but in April I started to study Dutch because I knew if I wanted to come here in a real sense, I had to speak the language well. So this is going to be a constraint for somebody coming from outside, but also a thing to say, okay, fine, if I want to come there, it's going to be tough. So responsibility, I want to make an effort too. And if I don't, I'll stay home. It's a complicated approach, but I think in some circumstances, maybe expat situation, which is different, it can be thought because I'm not obliged to come.
True. Larissa, when you hear this, the constraints and the realistic thing, what comes to your mind?
I'm afraid that a lot of low-skilled workers are pushed. There are also some push factors from our own countries, and also this tempting possibility, that in theory seems to be a workable one. It will be difficult to fight that, and it will be difficult for an European that has already a challenging situation back home to constrain himself. He will always look for the most possible positive scenario to still pursue the
absolutely.
the good life.
It's different, right? Because I'm in a situation in which I can find a job in my country, I can work in my country, I'm skilled,
Yes.
and I have education, and the circumstances which are different. So I would say maybe, probably, my side is more responsibility side. So if I come here, I've got to make a big effort, because that would be unfair also for the other people who want to come, maybe unskilled, maybe with different situation, more complicated situation in their own country.
Okay. Well, given that we have actually touched upon many facets of the problem, think about the solution purely. And certainly, let's think about the mortgage side of the problem. Can we have a different paradigm for the mortgage, such as like lifetime mortgages for people, or income-based rent to purchase, or we can also have a community lending model, so people can lend in order to help those to somehow get accommodated? Can we have some alternative ways to help people?
There have been many constructions, looking at the buying part, there have been many constructions to help people with a starter loan, with other solutions, to try and help somebody to buy a house, which is good and positive. The challenge is that in this housing market, where there's such a shortage, the question is that used in the right way, or does that affect prices more than housing? So that makes that part difficult. And for rental, you have for the lower incomes, you have subsidies in rent that you get. So there is governmental support on that end of the market, and that might help. And it comes back to the first problem. It starts with who is going to build them, where are we going to build them, and where are we going to create them.
Marco, anything to add here?
Well, with every move you make in this area, there's a certain group who will benefit and suddenly can overbid the other people, still leaving a lot of people behind with no house. So, I hope one day we'll all be happy with a house. But I see a lot of parents stepping in also and giving cash to the family to help that problem, and then you see the overbids rising again. So every positive way of helping means that other people are losing the market. So it starts with building a lot of houses.
Yeah. So one thing that I gather here is that realistically speaking, solving the problem at a short notice in a short term would be really difficult, even if the ideal situations are there. Is that what we are talking?
Exactly.
Yeah. And if that is the case, then what do you think it has repercussions for social fabric and economic growth of Netherlands? Does it have a severe impact on it?
It will have an impact, yeah. If you can't live, some people will come, but there are others who will not come to this place. And, since we need a lot of working people, there's not a balance anymore. So that will affect the whole economy.
Well, let's. I have just a wild scenario for all of you. You can just suppose again. Suppose tomorrow all mortgages, the interest goes to zero. But the condition is that you could buy only one home in your lifetime. The question is, will that correct the market or break the market?
That's a good question.
So the interest goes to zero.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how much you want to.
You can buy only one house in your
How big?
lifetime. Leave it, open. Yeah.
I think you should choose very well the place in which you buy the house. Then at that point,
Yeah, of course. So
so there will be a consequence in that.
So that's
in
the
that
question:
sense.
is like,
Yeah.
will that fix the market that we have right now, or break it completely?
So in movement in the market, you want people in your living career. So this makes it difficult for me because everybody has its career in housing. You start small,
Yeah.
then a lot of people, the family grows, so they go bigger and they buy a bigger house, and at some point you don't need that anymore, and then you go back down into a smaller house, and then a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm going to a smaller house." No, it's your next step in your living career where you need to go. So saying you can only buy one house makes that for me difficult, because then I say one house for that entire career is impossible and would make it different. But let's go, if I may, to the point that you are allowed to sell again but you can only own one
or
house
have the one mortgage
at one time.
Yeah.
I do think that if you say the interest is no percent, as long as the issue of the number of houses remains, it doesn't help.
It doesn't help
the market, and also, I don't think that would help the market. No.
Marco?
Well, the number is significant. So changing anything is well, a good attempt, but in the end, 400,000 houses is a lot. I don't think this will change. It will affect my business, of course, but that's completely personal. But since we are so short on houses, we have a shortage which will not be solved by going to anything like 0% or changing anything else but that number. So, no.
No. You. Larissa, what do you think?
Yeah, I think someone needs serious economic knowledge
for that.
For this scenario. A fact for the group we stand for is that next to the affordable housing, we also need more social security. There have been already some measures taken to improve the position of the low-skilled worker in the Netherlands, but we need a greater commitment on it, so that these European mobile workers won't be that dependent on one actor that not only is responsible for the housing but also for the many aspects of the life of a mobile worker. So this as well, along with creating more housing, won't keep the mobile worker in the same very small room of negotiation. They have no options. No. Even when the housing is enough, their options are limited.
Simon?
Well, possibly I will come up with another kind of strategy, because I was thinking in North Holland is the big problem, right? So I would say the Netherlands is not a big country, but there are regions in which maybe the housing market is less critical. So I know it's complicated and it will take a lot of time, but what if we try to work on distribution too? So of course Den Haag, Amsterdam. I've been visiting like 17 cities so far in the Netherlands, so there are many. So why not trying to bring, some big opportunities, investing also in making other centers, other cities more innovative so that they can attract more talents too? That could be a possible solution.
Okay, well, I think now we have a limited time, so I would like to just touch upon two simple issues, and I would like your, quick reflection on it. One decision that you could take today that will, well, I shouldn't say that will solve the problem, but at least ease the problem in your own capacity. What is that you would like to do today?
Well, the easiest way to create more houses is that municipalities give more space for developers to cut up houses in multiple apartments and to put an extra layer on top of housing. That would be a short-term solution.
Short-term solution.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one. What about you, Bart?
With the risk of saying you're only looking at capitalism or that's the way to go, and that's clearly for me not the case. I do think that it's good that there are regulations on that housing is affordable and everything, but creating a climate for investors to be willing to invest in housing in a positive way, a social way. I do think that would be important to be able to create the houses.
Okay. Well, let's go for the last question. And this is where I would like you, because so far we have to wait for the new government and the new portfolio, the minister in charge for this segment. If you could give one suggestion that what he should start looking into, what would that be? One advice that you could give
to the new minister.
To the new minister in charge, that please do with this. Start with here.
Well, they have been shouting that they're going to build houses, so I hope they will start with that, but actively. And try to shorten the period from a plan to a concrete building.
Okay. Bart, for you. 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Yeah.
I do think that already a lot is being done, that there is a sense of that we're approaching it wrongly. So, yeah, create the environment to build.
Do that.
I agree. I would go to leverage on the good transportation system that's present here, the small distances, and try to invest in creating houses also in places in which maybe there's a bit more space, and try to distribute and incentive it.
Larissa?
Yeah, that the good directions that came from the rumor report and a program that commits to improve the position of the low-skilled workers in the Netherlands goes further.
Okay.
And definitely that the contract, the work contract would be separate also in practice, not only in theory, by the housing contract.
Yeah.
And with the time, we will also become more aware of what this means, and the Europeans will come here more prepared and aware of their position.
Thank you. I think we are running short of time now, but I would like to thank you all, Marco, Bart, Simon, and Larissa, for your contribution. Very engaging. I know the subject is very difficult and there are no easy solutions, but at least we tried to figure out something new. With this, we come to the end of this segment. And the next one follows is on Dutch winter. But before we start, here's a small documentary media report for you.
So, where are we today? Yes, the Netherlands is short 400,000 homes. 1 in 20 homes that should exist doesn't. To understand how we got here, we must first go back in time. The crisis began with the 2008 financial crash. Between 2009 and 2019, the Netherlands lost an entire decade of construction. That's 133,000 fewer homes built than normal. And that single shock thus created 1/3 of today's shortage. And yes, someone could have stepped in. The Netherlands has Europe's largest social housing sector. Nearly 30% of all homes are managed by non-profit corporations with billions in capital. You would think that social housing organizations were built for crises like this one. But in 2013, facing a budget deficit, the government imposed a tax on those very corporations, the landlord levy. It drained 1.7 billion euros per year from the institutions meant to solve the crisis. After the sudden slash in capital, social housing here to just 13,000. In other words, a single policy error led to losing over 100,000 homes. And it's people living in the Netherlands today that are suffering the consequences. Across the country, you must wait an average of 7 years for access to social housing. In Amsterdam, up to 18 years. It's fair to say the Dutch housing system is crippled. So, what now? To combat the housing crisis, the government wants to build 100,000 new homes annually. But in the first half of 2025, only about 31,000 were completed, which is the lowest number since 2018. Construction is stalling, and by the looks of it, the housing crisis is not getting better, it's getting worse. In 2023, the government rectified past mistakes and abolished the landlord levy. In a sense, social housing corporations got their money back. In theory, a good thing, but now there are new roadblocks ahead. Problem 1, nitrogen. A 2019 court ruling means any project within 5 kilometers of protected nature needs complex environmental permits. That's an estimated 500,000 planned homes that now face major delays or cancellation. Problem 2, the electrical grid. The national power network is at capacity. New housing projects are sometimes blocked because there are not enough electricity connections available. And problem 3, when a housing project secures its permit, there might just be no one to approve it. There's a critical shortage of urban planners and civil servants at municipalities, the people who actually process permit applications and get projects moving. Taken together, it seems it's permits that have become the new challenge. On this, the numbers are clear. In the first half of 2025, there are 14.5% fewer building permits than a year ago. So in 2025, the Dutch housing market is thus a crisis of its own, but also suffering from a permit crisis. This is a leading reason that politicians struggle to clean up the mess. New building plans, the lagging indicator, are at a 6-year low. But building permits, the leading indicator, are declining too. The system is not just failing to catch up, it's decelerating. The 100,000 new homes a year target is not just being missed, it's fading in the distance. It's likely going to get worse before it gets better. But there are solutions. The heart of the Dutch housing crisis is not the shortage itself. After all, the Netherlands has the wealth and the expertise to build its way out. What it lacks is consensus on the real obstacles. Is it the electrical grid or municipal capacity? Construction costs or nitrogen regulations? Interest rates or red tape? Where do we start and with which solutions? No matter how long this debate continues, reality remains. We will all need a place to live.
Hello, I'm Nutan Manohar, a happiness researcher, and your host for today as we discuss about surviving Dutch winters. So how are you feeling today? cooped up or energized. Hopefully by the end of the discussion, you not just learn to survive Dutch winters, you learn to flourish, you learn to thrive. If you take my case, I come from a tropical land of lagoons and coconut palms and eternal sunshine, which means that it's always hot, it's dusty, and you're sweating all the time. Now, this also means that we romanticize the winter. So when I moved to the Netherlands, I took to winters like a fish takes to water. But the fact is, not everyone tends to be as crazy as I do, which means that there are many out there who experience winter depression or even the subsyndromal cases where there are mild symptoms. So is it possible to actually do well? Or is it that the Dutch habit that we have all loved about talking about weather and often complaining about weather affected us in a way that we look at winters in a very negative way? So is it all in our mind, or is there any physiological change that happens? Because when you have darker days, less light, longer nights, there are actual changes that happen in your body, which means that we start becoming less active, more sluggish. So there are physical and mental shifts that's going on. So how do we navigate all this? And to discuss all this, we have a panel of experts from different fields today who are going to help us understand how to have a fantastic time despite the dark grey weathers and the wet days. We have with us Vasya, psychologist and the founder of Anti-Loneliness. In a line, can you explain to us what is it that you do?
I'm a psychologist and the founder of Anti-Loneliness, which is a mental health company who supports expats who need a little bit of more support in finding mental strength and finding belonging in the new country that they are now living in.
Thank you, Vasya. And editor, as an HR manager, expert, and a coach, what is it that you do and how do you want to talk about winters today?
Mostly I support experts and leaders who are on a career cross. They don't know if they should go straight, left, right, especially in the mid-year crisis. So I help them, and I think winter is always some kind of reflection moment. So I hope that I can help them today with some tips and tricks.
Thank you, editor. And Julie, the founder of Bus Networking. I think you have a community of over 2,000 solopreneurs, expat founders from Netherlands, all coming to.
Yeah, I bring these people together. We connect. Our community supports each other. A lot of people are propelled into this situation, new to the country, and some of them, it's their first winter. So we connect and support each other and, help them with their businesses.
Thank you, Julie. Last but not the least, the lovely Tatiana. You're very close to my heart because you work with a lot of social causes. You have the pulse of the community and the volunteers. So welcome, and could you tell us in brief what is it that you do with PEP?
Of course, pleasure to be here. I run a number of projects at PEP Den Haag, and one of the projects that I'm dedicated to is Volunteer The Hague. And it's a project that serves kind of like a bridge between local Dutch nonprofit organizations and internationals in the city of The Hague or in the surroundings. So just like you mentioned, we try to do our absolute best to connect the two worlds and make sure that both internationals that are here trying to find their way in this new society, trying to make their new home.
So more reason why you need to stay tuned, because we have experts from different fields talking to us about how do we survive, how do we flourish, how do we thrive in winters. The very first question I have is to Vasya. Vasya, could you help us understand the physiological and psychological, the physical and mental shifts that happen during winters? And are we even designed to be all pepped up during winters?
Well, first of all, to answer the first one, it's not something we just make up in our mind. It's happening in our body. A lot of things change, and one of them is that our serotonin drops. Serotonin is a hormone, a neurotransmitter that stabilizes our mood. and our appetite. And that's why we feel more irritable, or we don't have a lot of motivation, or our appetite changes, we have cravings, more carbs, you know that. So that's because of serotonin. Yeah, let's blame it on serotonin. But also another thing happens, melatonin spikes. And melatonin is another hormone that is created because of darkness. And we have more dark hours during winter. And that's why our body says, okay, you can sleep more, it's fine. So our body adjusts to the season of hibernation. And we do feel differently. We don't have a lot of motivation. We feel like isolating more. Loneliness also spikes because there's no energy to go out because of serotonin that we said before. And we stay more, and that creates a circle. Are we meant to flourish, as you said? Well, we do, but in a different way. It's not the same as in summer. So we're just adjusting to the season. We understand that it's not better or worse, but it's just different, a different pace of working. We go slower, but still we can be productive.
So we can forgive ourselves for feeling a bit slow, a bit sluggish. The world tends to push us to do more and, be more. But then this is a time to maybe honor ourselves and, take it a bit light. At this point, I have a follow-up question. In your practice, have you noticed, is there any particular expat community? Sorry, it might sound like it's stereotyping, but is there any expat community that tends to actually do worse during winters?
Yeah, especially the people who are coming from the warm countries, Mediterranean countries. And one is because their body is not used to so many days of winter. Like I come from Greece, we have 300 days of sunshine. It's different, it's difficult as well. So their body is resisting that. But also we have this mindset that we compare that with this. And we tend more, when winter starts, we tend to say, another 5 months to go, wake me up when June comes, I'm not going to make it this year, it's so difficult, I want to go back to my country. So that adds another level of suffering. Winter is already difficult, but then you add this constant comparison, and then you count days until the warm summer. That's going to make it even more unbearable.
I love you brought that up because, when I moved, I said I love winters. But to be honest, 2024, it was a lot more wetter and a lot more darker. Most of the days I was cooped up. And I did actually feel the winter blues setting in. So yes, it is not just, in your mind, there's actual physiological changes, but also not being used to so much of darkness for such a prolonged period. And I love how you brought in the concept of mindset. Is there like a wintertime mindset which we could actually work with so that, we could feel better?
I think it's the mindset of self-compassion and acceptance. Instead of resisting it, which adds a lot of more energy that we're spending, we're just adjusting to this, we're accepting that it's different, and we're creating rituals that we enjoy. Instead of saying, well, that's a wasted half a year, let's wait until the good part of the year, which is actually wasting our life and abandoning ourselves, we just go back there and say, we're going to make the most out of it. Creating rituals, connecting with others, accepting that it's going to be a different pace that we're working. We're going to sleep more and it's okay. Or we're going to go slower and that's also okay. So that's something that we can start, acceptance and self-compassion.
From psychology, I'm going to shift to HR because productivity does often take a bit of a beating when it comes to winters. More because people are not feeling physically well, as well as, of course, the winter depression, which affects our mood. So as an HR expert, what are the challenges HR leaders and team leaders face during winters?
Yes, indeed. In the corporate world, we notice that people are less productive. Sickness leaves peaks in this part of the year. Especially the long sick leave. So this is those are the challenges that we face and we have to deal. On another hand, it's end year evaluation, where in the beginning, so how did we do? Did we reach all our goals? And that it's quite stressful moment. Plus, additionally, at our traditional families, let's say, Christmas is coming, quite intensive with presents. Maybe we want to go back to our home countries. So that's very, very intense part of the year where the energy level also goes down. So as HR, we try to stimulate them leaderships, the leaders to promote more home office, have flexible hours. We also promote the team meetings outside of work. And not only the Friday drinks, but just, corporate events or something, just do those extra efforts so people will feel a bit more encouraged, and they like to spend more time with at the workplace. Do some fun, go on the ice skating rinks together instead of to the bar on Friday after work. So those little small events, actions can really help to bind the team, to strengthen the team. Plus, that it has also a great proven result that this is also a time when people are starting to think, do I like that place? Or maybe a new year it's coming, maybe I should look for a new employer. Shall I change my job? And those things. So the new year, it's together with New Year resolutions, stimulates the rotation of employees. So I think for employers, for leaders, for managers, it's a great opportunity to bind the team, to get acquainted with teammates, with the team, and be creative. How you can use those extra fun factors to let the people stay, to enjoy the winter and the workplace, basically. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I think as an HR manager, as a team leader, it becomes important that you create the warmth that people are missing outside. So thank you so much for that.
Welcome.
That brings us to Julie. Julie, when it comes to being a founder and supporting other founders, supporting expat community, are there any unique challenges that you have seen during winters? Is there like a financial slump for expat founders? Is there a personal slump? So since you had worked a lot with community, could you tell us more about how is it for winters?
Yeah, I mean, for myself, getting people together, as we mentioned, a lot of people travel back to their home countries, and if you're a freelancer and you can do your business online, then you might go back for an extended amount of time. So to keep people connected, we stay online within my community. A lot of business owners, they might have a really seasonal business and struggle what they're going to do in that time. I think it's a great time to plan and look towards the next year and see what you can come up with next. And all those people that you've met but you've not followed up with, and they may have time for a coffee, a chat, a bit more than we're on the hamster wheel of keep running. So I think it's a wonderful time to stay in touch and reach out to people that you've been meaning to stay in touch with.
That's a lovely point, because I think in many of the countries, like winter time, the Christmas time can actually be a lot of work and can be extremely stressful. But I think in the Netherlands, if you kind of get used to the fact that it becomes more laid back during winters and meet people for coffee, that's a great thought. And that brings us to Tatiana, the person who's behind making sure people are connected. You have had the pulse of the community, the actual problems that communities across Netherlands might experience, and also people who could volunteer and support community. So could you tell us a bit more about the challenges that maybe community has experienced, stories from volunteers that you have worked with? We would love to know that.
Of course. Once summertime starts, we notice that there is quite a bit of a dive in the interest to volunteer. Even the data that we see on a website would have a nice bottom kind of hitting line, but then the moment September starts, and usually September is the month that we have the highest number of engagements on the platform. When September starts, individuals start to come back from the summertime, especially if they have kids. They start thinking, well, the new school year starts for them, and then what? What am I going to be doing? If they have employment, well, that's great. They might be even thinking about looking for a different place to work. But if they don't have an employment, and usually the majority of volunteers that we have here in the Netherlands that are international, coming from the international backgrounds, they would be mostly interested to volunteer for professional reasons, meaning that they would want to exercise their skills, fill that gap on their CV while they are looking for a job. And some of them don't even want to work, they just want to do something to give back to the community. They want to engage with the local community, get to know better what is it the Dutch society here offers. Maybe they want to practice their language skills. There are majority of many different reasons, but the majority of these reasons want to do something. I want to be useful. And when the days start to get dark, and September is still not the month when it gets darker, but then November, October hits, and that's the time that I'm quite happy to see that the numbers go up on our platform, because it means that people are engaging. They're looking for some other ways to not to stay on the couch, not to just be engaged only with their family or kids, but do something for themselves and do something for others.
I have a follow-up question here, because that kind of triggered suddenly a thought, because especially you kind of meet people when they're just moving into Netherlands as well. Do you feel that winters are particularly harsh for them, especially when they are new to the Netherlands? And do they take enough initiative to go out there? Summers it's easier. What do you think? Are there any stories from that?
Yeah, I'm glad to say that I've heard a story recently of somebody that's moved from the US really recently, and within a month she came and joined people in person. I'm sure she won't mind me sharing, because I know she shared a bit wider, but she actually got quite upset in the session because it hit her. She's moved countries, she's moved cultures, she's trying to find a way around, and she's heading into winter, and it's like, how's this gonna work out? But the fact she was in a room of other people that are like trying to figure it out and heading towards their first winter as well, I think she felt a lot better. She'd made the effort, she got on a train, she's in a strange country, but she's met other people now, and she's found her community. So I really do encourage people, if you've got the right clothes, we can't do much about the weather, but we can do something about going out and connecting with other people, and it does really lighten your mood. It really does.
We can't do much about the weather, but we can definitely bundle up and go give each other a warm hug. So thank you so much for that. That brings us back to Vasia. Vasia, what personal strategies do you recommend? I think there is a lot of value to be had from community and doing things together during winters, because I think that's the time when we really need that support. But what are the other personal strategies that you recommend for people who have moved to the Netherlands recently and are learning to navigate the winters?
I think I will start with the word balance. because we do, of course, need to go out, mingle with other people, but especially the winter. The winter is a season that invites us for this introspection, for this me time, as we say. So let's keep a balance, not overspend our energy, because again, in the winter we don't have a lot of energy, and evaluate when we need to go out and meet other people, when we need to stay in. And staying in doesn't mean stagnate or sleep all the time, but keep ourselves mentally engaged. Like, what are the hobbies and the things we like to do in our spare time? Painting, any artistic activities, any creative activities are really good for the brain, but also they increase the endorphins, which are the happy hormones. They make us feel good with ourselves. So we don't need only people. Of course, it's fundamental. We are wired to be socially connected, but also we need, especially in winter, time with ourselves. Another thing that helps, since I mentioned the endorphins, is exercise, working out. And the simplest form of exercising is just walking. Going out, walking for 10 minutes, walking around the block, that can do. That can do because, first of all, we get exposed to sunlight, especially if we do it in the morning hours. And sunlight, or as we said before, regulates the hormones that we need for our body, but also it produces more endorphins. We feel more happy and achieving something and a sense of accomplishment. And it's so simple. It's just 10 minutes a day, right? And then going back home and then continue with our days. And also introducing these small breaks, because as we said before, we tend to become obsessed with productivity and performance, and we have the New Year resolutions, New Year, New Me, what's happening now. So we tend to be obsessed with these perfectionistic tendencies and productivity measures. So then taking these small breaks quite often during our day, first of all, gives our brain a break so that it's not overloaded. But also we get to see a little bit what's happening around us. We get to be a little bit more present. And that helps. 8 hours with no break are way different than 8 hours of work with small 5-minute intentional and mindful breaks.
Beautifully put. I mean, we kind of, covered the part on the mindset. I think in countries like Norway, it was found that, there are places which are really, really cold, but they have their happiest times during winters. And it was not because that, there was a magical light there, but because people got together and celebrated the winters. And yes, like you kind of mentioned, those little mindful breaks of little, moments of warmth that you can create. Hygge is the term for it, and I think that's a lovely term. And that brings us to, I think, questions related to business, related to teams. What do you think can be practical strategies that should be adopted during winter so that, the teams can actually do well? You have had the experience of working both as a manager as well as, listening to people go through their problems as a coach. So based on all these lovely insights that you have, perspectives that you have, what are the strategies that you suggest that companies should start adopting?
Companies, so no individuals. Okay. I think bringing fun on the floor, it's really a great opportunity for managers, for leaders to stimulate the teamwork. That many teamwork activities going out, it's actually for summer, for spring, because we can do more, we can do some outside activities and those things. But I think companies should also put deliberately those activities for the winter, for beginning of the year. Maybe the beginning actually less than the winter, because with the beginning of the year we have kind of the energy, because the New Year resolutions, even personal, can really boost us. But put those corporate events to that period of time. I think also bringing a bit of more fun to the offices. Christmas gifts. Usually we go to those Christmas packages. Everything the same for each person. A nice corporate ribbon there with logo, etc. Perfect. But maybe just do a bit differently. Maybe just take an example from schools where kids actually they take a lot with a name of the friend sitting maybe two benches further, and just for 5 euro buy a small gift for different person. That brings creativity, then that builds teamwork and brings the fun, actually, the joy to the teamwork, and doesn't involve a huge budget. Those are really like small stimulations that we can even pay from our own pocket. I think leaders could bring much the creativity, or even give that creativity to the team. Say, hey guys, Christmas is coming. What are we doing for Christmas as a team? And instead bringing the idea itself, or herself on the table, just give the floor to the team and let the team bring those ideas. Then you will hear what the team actually wants, needs, and would like to do. So that's what I would definitely recommend for
I'm so incredibly grateful for you bringing up that point, because I think even in the profession that I have, I would often tell corporates that, hey, let's do something, something social and something outdoorsy. And it would be always for summer. And I'm like, hey, your team doesn't need it in summer. They're already happy. Let's do something during autumns and winter, because that's when the slump really sets in. And I love the idea of, something to start the meetings with. Even like a 90-second game of rock, paper, scissors actually makes a difference to the mood, because I think things that actually go down the drain as it becomes darker is creativity and fun. And I think even all the traditions, the customs, tries to bring in a bit of that, the Christmas cheer, as you say it. So I think that's something that, we need to really bring back and bring it up in a way that's practical.
Or just they make one Friday with ugly sweaters on. That brings a lot of joy, fun, and that's already, it doesn't cost anything. Just bring the energy.
I love that thought. I think we should have a team day of just ugly sweaters. Thank you so much. That's a lovely, lovely thought. That brings us to volunteering. So we know that, there's ample research which kind of says that people who volunteer are happier, are more resilient, not just mentally resilient, but even in terms of falling ill, they tend to be resilient to diseases. And there's even been a sweet spot of 3 hours per week of volunteering, which is really good for you. So my question, Tatiana, is that, what unique opportunities are out there to start volunteering? So could you tell us a bit about your initiatives during this time?
Of course, with pleasure. Volunteer The Hague serves as a platform that offers a number of volunteer opportunities. This is kind of like an organization. Let's say this RTV Discuss would be looking for volunteers. Back in the past, when the Expaterience was just in inception phase, it was just an idea. There was the time that Volunteer The Hague stepped in and helped RTV Discuss to find volunteers. The volunteer vacancies were posted, and then a number of internationals applied, and then this idea and this dream came to be true. There were also a number of events for volunteers in the city that also took place, and RTV Discuss had a stand, and there were a number of internationals who got interested and applied. And it's just one example of the success. There was International Film Festival just recently taking place. They had about 20 volunteers there, and they all came through Volunteer The Hague as well. So keep on checking the website. Depending on what kind of needs that organizations have, that is going to be displayed on a platform. So there could be some organizations that they are struggling with their projects, and right when the winter hits and the winter blues, and it's getting dark and difficult for most of us, if not all of us. And that's usually the time that in the volunteers, internationals, as volunteers, they really can step up and help out. And by helping out other organizations, but looking at the website, just checking what's out there, because the supply always changes. So once the vacancies get filled, another one comes out there. So just keep on checking. And once the application is made, just follow up on the application. Call the organizations. It's just kind of like it was a job. When you apply for a job, don't just expect to get an email. And sometimes we do it like even if sometimes if we get an email, but quite often we pick up the phone and we call like, hey, have you received my application? I'm following up, etc. So the same with volunteer opportunities. And since the winter is already here, it's a great opportunity for us to try and just see the best in the world. And volunteering is one of these beautiful opportunities that we have, that we get to volunteer not because we have to, but because we want to. It's something that internationals should really be proud of. And I do want to mention that the organization has to be the right fit. When the interview takes place, and there will also be an interview because we're in the Netherlands, it's quite competitive here to even find a volunteer position. But once you're through the interview, then all of a sudden you become the part of this mini world, a small community here within this non-profit. And for us internationally that are looking for this feeling of belonging, this is the time when we truly can find the space within this adopted home, adopted country, the new place where we're trying to redefine ourselves, and just try to find this beautiful moment of reconnecting with yourself and also new colleagues. Because the non-profits that they will be taking you in, they will be treating you just as an almost equal colleague. That always surprises internationals when they start to volunteer. Oh, they listen to my opinion. Mm-hmm. They invite me to the meetings. Yes, you become an active member of this little society and this organization. Of course, you run through all the selection procedure like any employee would. So definitely want to invest their time in you. You will be invited to all the corporate events that they have. Corporate events sound so corporate. The Christmas dinners, little games here and there, but you will be invited there, and it's expected that you will find almost like a new family within these little organizations.
I can vouch for that because I'd attended the Volunteers Festival that you had organized, and that's how I became a volunteer with Expaterience.
Hey, nice. I'm glad you bring it up because there is one more upcoming just in a week from now. This coming Saturday on the 29th of December, or not December, we're talking about winter, now I'm thinking about December, 29th of November, at the Social Hub of The Hague between 11 and 15:30. We'll have this beautiful mix and match volunteer job fair. There will be 34 organizations coming, and there will be a happiness tour there as well. Vasa will be there, also giving the workshop about New Year's resolutions, in fact. Oh, it was such a lovely chat that we had. I came from summer, and I'm like, I have some New Year's resolution, so screw it that it's not New Year, because I was going into this winter time. And Vasa said, oh, it's such a great topic to talk about. And this is how it came to be. So looking forward to having you all there, if you can. The workshop will take place in the second part of the day. Come visit the website. It's volunteerthehague.nl. Come join us. Mix and mingle with organizations. Listen to all different workshops that we have to offer. And with little effort, you might find just the right volunteering fit for you. And with that right volunteering fit, you might feel a little bit cozier and nicer and feel just more welcoming in this country. I remember when I just came here, I noticed that, and it was 15th of January, and before that I lived in Canada, and I noticed that there was no winter. When you come from Canada, that's just, it's spring, there is no winter. Then summer came. there is no summer either. Oh, well, if it's a price to pay for not having winter, I'm all right with that. Keep reminding myself that.
Absolutely, because I think I was taken up by the kind of variety of organizations that came and needed volunteers at the festival. So highly recommend that you definitely join in on 29th of November. And I think you will find a few familiar faces there because we all need volunteers. And I think, yes, I love the part where it's very, very professional, how we kind of take it. Mm-hmm. But the beauty of volunteering is, like I said, you build that resilience because you have a community. You're working on causes and concerns that are really meaningful to you, which also adds to you. Sometimes at work, you don't get to work on the things that you really care about. Yeah. So this becomes a way to do that.
Yeah. You're not getting paid for that, so you might as well do what you really love doing.
Absolutely.
And since some allegedly say there are no winters here anyway, and there are no summers, so you might as well just enjoy the time here in general.
Very recently, we met a founder who had just exited her company, and all she's now doing is just volunteering and supporting stichtings. And I thought that's a fantastic way to kind of, move from, what brings you financial support to what brings you meaning in life. And that actually brings me to the question that I've been wanting to ask you. What are the fun things that we can actually do in the Netherlands? As an expat, what are the things that you suggest?
Well, there's so many fun things out there. You just need to check your local area, your local gemeente, your local international expat centre. Each city will have a Christmas fair of some description. In Leiden, they've got a floating ice rink, which is pretty cool. Just take the opportunity to see what's there and go and try it. I've been to the one in The Hague a few years ago. Very classy affair, that one was. Some really lovely stores, a really good opportunity to start your Christmas shopping as well. So, so many nice things to do.
Any food suggestions for winter?
Stamppot.
All right. Stamppot, earthen soup.
Glühwein, but I think it's something from Germany, right? But we have also many Christmas markets, and I think they might serve something. Or, Germany is close by.
But I think that many cities host Christmas markets from other countries. Like I've been to a Swedish or a Danish one. So you can just, go and experience not the Dutch cuisine only, but international cuisine.
And I think, and especially post-COVID, there's a lot of interest in these kind of social activities where we go together and experience something out there. Netherlands does offer a lot of options in that, whether it's the theme parks or whether it's the cities itself. And there are beautiful activities that you can do, like candlelight walks and so many magical things out there. If you're willing to really cover up and, bear the cold, there's fantastic things out there for all of us.
And oliebollen.
Oliebollen.
How could we forget about oliebollen?
And we actually have an oliebollen in my place, and it literally translates to that, an oliebollen. And we grew up eating it, and it's only after I moved to the Netherlands, I'm like, oh, this is the history of it, and it is delicious. All right, so thank you so much for that. And with that, I want to come to this fun part where I'm going to put each one in a spot and ask you to rate things from 1 to 10. 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, your idea of it, and maybe give a brief explanation of why you say so. Okay, so with that, I think my first question is to Vasia. So Vasia, from 1 to 10, how do you rate sun lamps for winter depression?
I would give it a 7. As we said, sunlight is important, but I prefer if we go outside to get the sunlight. Don't use it as a substitute to just working outside. So that's why it's 7. It's really good, but preferably the natural sunlight.
I'm completely aligned with you, and I would actually give it a 6 because when they studied the effect of sun lamp and therapy, they found that during winter depression, therapy had better impact. Yeah. So we actually need to be able to speak to someone. Yeah. So, more than the sun out there, we are missing those warm connections. So thank you so much. And what about the cold plunge, the ice baths? What do you think about that?
I would give it a 4 or 5. I get it, it's energizing, but one, it can be risky for people with cardiovascular and respiratory issues. And secondly, it can actually lose its purpose when it becomes another performance challenge or a toughness measurement.
So speaking about that, I think I had experienced it in a Tibetan monastery called the Key Monastery. So it was like monks sitting and very effortlessly generating heat and even steam while they sit there, and I was sitting and shivering there. All right. And many years later, I think infamous Wim Hof came along and productized it. But then that has actually made it a bit dangerous because it has become a performance sport. Yeah. But the knowledge, the wisdom that came from the East was actually to help us realize that we are capable of generating heat. That being said, we do practice it, and that's how we keep our energy bills low at home.
Yeah, I also have tried it. I also have tried it also with minus 20 in Finland. Amazing experience, and I was doing that for 1 year. In one winter, here in Den Haag, in Kraupdijk, there's the regular every Sunday dog. And actually on the New Year, there is a Dutch tradition, right? Where everybody is just running to the sea and let's be reborn.
So no ice baths, ice baths. Yeah. We have a tie there. What about journaling?
9. Especially for overthinkers, perfectionists that gather a lot of mental clutter in our head, and then we keep thinking and overthinking and ruminating. You just take all this and you put it on paper, and then you put some order in your thoughts, you release yourself of whatever stresses you, you make sense of it, you process it, and then it has less weight on you. So I love journaling, I'm doing it every day, I know the impact of it, so I highly recommend it. And I will tell you why 9 and not 10, but not now, later.
Your favorite prompts? Prompts for related to journaling, because I think that will be very helpful for people.
Say it again?
The prompts for journaling. Is there any that you suggest?
No, every day I have different ones, but I have a book of gratitude journaling prompts, and I use from there. But when you get the gist of it, then you produce your own prompts. But you can find it everywhere. You can Google or ChatGPT it, and you can find for sure.
What about meditation, mindfulness?
Also a 9. And again, we tend to judge ourselves really strictly when we're meditating, and I don't do it correctly, my mind wander off, or maybe I'm not good at it. But that's exactly what it is, meditation, to just sit with it, and then your mind goes away, you bring it back, it goes away, you bring it back. That's it. That's the essence of meditation. So let's get rid of the expectations and the standards, and then just enjoy it. And if you have problems with focusing, then you just use a guided meditation where somebody is guiding you, and then you follow the words of somebody. It's easier to focus.
And if you can do it outdoors, even better.
Yeah.
While you walk. What about vitamin D supplements? Is that important?
I think it is important, like an 8 out of 10. Especially because I've seen that not only people who live in the Netherlands or in countries with not a lot of daylight in winter, but also in Greece, my family, they also take vitamin D supplements. So it means that our nutrition nowadays is not covering enough the vitamin D that our body needs. So irrelevant of where you live, we all need vitamin D at the end of the day. So check with your doctor. Sometimes, you notice when your vitamin D is low, you already notice fatigue and low mood and tiredness and sleepiness. So check with your doctor. Maybe that's the starting point.
Flipping the table, what about alcohol during winters?
What do you think that I would say?
Professionally and personally.
Well, just because we had the personal part there, let's give it a 2. For sure, sometimes we need it just to lighten the mood, just to get out of the overworking, the performance, and then connect with our friends. We need a little bit of help, but then that shouldn't become the crutches that we need every day in order to relax. That's only for connection and to a degree that we can manage. If alcohol takes over our life, then it's actually becoming more stressful and more numbing and more disconnecting and making winters even harder.
Thank you, Vasya. And from that to flexible working hours during winters, how do you rate it?
11. It's very important. It's very important, especially that the traffic commuting the time might also take a lot of time, and then you are sitting in the car and everything is dark, and then maybe you need to pick up the kids from the base or something after school care. So yeah, I would give much more flexibility because it's not necessary stress. Plus, I think that the productivity can be even boosted, especially when you have so much in your plate end of the year, achieving the goals, still making sure that your performance is good, etc., etc.
What about team winter socials?
Oh, also have very high. This is, I think, one that I already explained during this talk. I would go very highly with that. Around 9-10. Yeah, this is actually a great opportunity to really reconnect, bind with your team, and that for the employer can also benefit, as I mentioned earlier, that you create the culture that the employee might stay with you, not leave you. Even if there is a high performance pressure, employees prefer. Why people change work? Mostly not because of money. Yeah, they change because of the culture. They like working here or not. And this period of time can be very crucial to make final decisions for the employees to stay or leave.
And I think it's important to remind that it's winter social, so it's not about another presentation on how to do your sales better. So yes, I hope people are listening in on that. What about outdoor walking meetings?
I would go for 5, let's say. It can help, maybe just, come and lunch together with the team, or just a quick walk after lunch. But I don't think it's a super necessary, let's say.
It could get wet.
Yeah, exactly.
And what about end-of-year performance appraisals, which many companies do? December is your performance appraisal.
Yeah, from corporate point of view, I would go for 10, but for individual point of view, 7, 6, 7. I know that employees, they realize maybe sometimes on the last minute, oh my gosh, I didn't do this and this, and my performance review will be maybe low. So they put extra hours, extra sweat to just boost to meet the KPIs, let's say. The same for managers. And I think especially with underperformers, not necessarily those talks are very pleasant. So from energy point of view, it might suck the energy rather than give. But good preparation for it, and maybe now still a good reminder, I still can do something, I can still boost the performance. That also could be...
Is it possible to do all those winter appraisals or year-end appraisals in June, in summer, when people are actually feeling better?
Actually, there are many companies that have the fiscal year from June to June, not from January till December. And they might benefit because from June to June, it's much easier. You know that you are going for holidays, your summer holidays. When your appraisal is done, you don't have to think about it anymore, etc. I noticed that that can really boost productivity of people and the effectiveness. But I think this is really depending on the fiscal year as well.
Moving on to Tatiana. Tatiana, volunteering to find friends, meaning, happiness, or should we Netflix and chill at home?
Wonder, what would I say? Well, even though I do like binge watching sometimes on Netflix, but it's just sometimes, of course, for the volunteering to meet all this, what you just mentioned, I would give it a 9 out of 10. And the reason it's not 10 out of 9 is because you mentioned happiness. And happiness, even though volunteering and finding the right fit, finding the right friends, and all of this will contribute to the happiness, but still lots of mental work still needs to be done internally. Otherwise, it would have been 10 out of 10.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, some of the causes that we actually support, it takes up a lot of our energy as well. Yes. And we have to be mentally prepared for that. That brings us to, would you recommend that people join a sports club or Dutch language lessons during winters?
Oh, that's a tough one. I'm a strong advocate for learning Dutch. At the same time, I don't really see why it would have to be one or the other. I'm also quite a strong advocate for exercising. So you can even exercise while learning Dutch. So if I may mention here, I would go for both. Just do it.
Bake 2 sausages on one fire.
Why not?
Now, here comes a question, because there is somebody who suggests dinner clubs. And you are suggesting community centers. Which one do you recommend for people to do? Community centers or dinner clubs?
Once again, you'll be surprised how many dinners are organized within the community centers. It doesn't have to be one or the other. There are many companies that are reaching out to us at the end of the year now, trying to ask what can we do to support local communities. And quite often, we either send them to maybe sometimes elderly houses and sometimes to other non-profits that can help out to organize even dinners for homeless, for other communities that do require this help.
So the fun parts, Julie, any markets that you recommend?
Well, I'm probably a bit biased because I live in Leiden. I think it's just so unique and beautiful time of year. But there's so many, so just go and check out. And they're all across the Netherlands. But also there's one up in Amsterdam, the Light Tour, which I understand that the Happiness Tour might be visiting very soon. So if you've not tried a Happiness Tour, I've been on 3. I'm a happiness champion, and I'm an advocate for going out there, having a walk in nature, meeting some people, and you never know what could happen.
Thank you so much for that. I was just going to ask you about Nieuwjaarsduik, the winter dip in the ocean, or oliebollen.
I think it's going to be oliebollen. I've not tried oliebollen yet, but the thought of cold dip is just not for me.
And here's a question for you. Santa Claus or Santa Claus?
Yeah. Well, I'm British, so I'm quite used to Santa Claus. I've got a question for the Dutch, is why does Santa Claus live in Spain and he doesn't have a tan? And apart from the fact he turns up in all the cities at once, that's a bit of a strange thing. But yeah, I mean, we've got to embrace the traditions of living in our new country. So yeah, I'm all for Santa Claus.
Santa Claus or Santa Claus?
Père Noël. There are many variations.
I think that was a fantastic discussion. I think we've covered the science, the community, the fun, the HR policies that we could actually have so that we can flourish during winter. So thank you so much. I hope everyone who's watching us is going to take in at least one or the other tip and going to make sure that we have a good time. If not, make sure you connect with us on Expaterience through our socials. You would come to know about the various activities and events in your city so that you can actually go ahead and have a lovely time. Calling it a day for now. Thank you so much. Thank you, Julie, Vasya, editor, and Tatiana.
And if I may here, next Saturday, if you can, join us at the Social Club for Volunteer Market.
We'll be there with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
I hope you all had a good time.